Let's get back to this topic on 18 principles of insight. So, on Monday, we describe a number of things. We want to see what are the background picture before we describe or we talk about the 18 principles of insight. One of the things is that to show you that these 18 principles of insight also very much connected to your Mahasatipatthana Sutta, and all this within this within the let me see, within the insight, then there's further commentary on the 16 insight knowledges and also the 18 principles of insight. Let me go to the screen. Where's this one? Okay, share. All right. Now, so we said that on this 18 principle of insight, there are 18 things which we're going to describe. Maybe not all in today. So Mahasatipatthana, within this insight, further description by the commentaries, you get 16 insight or also 18 principle insights. Now, most of the time, as I said, we look at, when we talk about the Vipassana progress, we look at the 16 insight knowledge. This is what we normally see. But when we comes into 18 principle insight, then it looks into the characteristic. What are you actually noting when you are inside there? Inside this, as you progress into your Vipassana meditation. Also, later part, we're going to look into this also, some of it. And then here is one important thing, is that I would like to emphasize that this, can you all hear me? Some people say no voice. I'm like almost kissing my mic already right now.
Okay, but the volume is okay.
No, all right, good. Okay, so remove the chat. Yeah, all right. Wait. Usually when I give talk, it's like that. First 5 or 10 minutes, not so the momentum still warming up. Wait lah. After 10 minutes, then the voice get louder. Yeah. All right. So, okay. Now, Anupassana here, as I said, these are very important aspect of it. Although in the English, we just use the word contemplate, which is not a very good translation. But nevertheless, I still use the word contemplate because when you're going to read into the text, like sometimes in Mahasi Sayadaw's book, or even in the Visuddhimagga or some other teachers, they use the word contemplate. Contemplate, as I said, is not a very good word because it denotes a lot of thinking. Whereas when we are doing this 18 principle insight or even insight knowledge, it takes on the object directly, not by thinking, by observation, not by the eyes, but by the mind. A clear, precise state of the mind. Then when you pay attention to those things repeatedly, again and again, in various modes. So in various modes here, that means all the 18 principles of insights in various modes. So he contemplates. How does he contemplate? How does he note? He notes as impermanent, so on and so forth. So this one is important for those who are just begin to join us over here. So on Monday, I mentioned this thing. not the English word contemplate, on its actual meaning. So I talk about it because we want to clear a number, sometimes doubts for yogis. There are also yogis who are more advanced yogi, and sometimes they do not know what are they looking at, because change, rising, passing away, and everything, it's happening in a very fluid and fast manner. So it can be quite confusing for sometimes for certain yogis. And here it to help you to clear some doubts. And also to arouse the confidence, because those who have not heard of these talks before, hopefully that understand this, it helps you to put in more effort and hopefully more time into developing of this vipassana. Now, then also we talk about this vipallasa. Now the vipallasa here is distortion or perversion. All of us, because we are still in samsara, we are still going through this round of birth and rebirth, because we have all this distorted perception. From the distortion of perception, then it comes a distortion of thinking, distortion of views. So because of this distortion of perception, supposing things are supposed to be impermanent, we perceive it as permanent. From the perception of permanent, it arises the thinking of permanent. Then when with the thinking of permanent, then it arises the wrong view of eternalism. Everything is everlasting, and so forth. And this happens in our everyday life, every breathing moment. And we do not know that we are having all this distortion of perception until you have the right perception. Then only you know you have this distortion of perception. If you do not meditate or you do not go further than that, you go on just day after day, you do not know that you are ignorant. Until the wisdom arises, then only we know that we are ignorant. So this vipallasa. So the whole process of these 18 principles of insight, 18 principle insight, then the 16 insight knowledge, is to change this perception here, so that when they change it into the right type of perception, then it comes the right type of thinking. From the right type of thinking comes the right view. Okay. Now, in that 18 principle of insight, our job here is at number 2, abandonment through the substitution of the opposite, 18 insight knowledge or an 18 principle insight. Here is where we change our perception, or the opposite means that we change from the wrong perception into a right perception. That means you have to pay attention, see things as they really are. Then that's why we keep on changing and changing in many, many ways. So this is where what we are doing. So for the number 1, by suppression is through jhana and momentary concentration. Number 3, by cutting off means by magga and phala and nibbana. All right. So more or less we talk about that one. So tonight, we're going to look into at least the first 3. I'll talk about more on the impermanence first, the anicca. And a little bit on 2, a little bit on 3. The next day we talk about 2 and 3 more. Now the first one, the second one, and third one, I'm going to describe on it a little bit more. Now the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 until 16, all of them have some similarity with anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Just a matter of how you pay attention to them. In fact, that this impermanence, unsatisfactoriness or dukkha, and non-self, they are also very closely, the characteristics are almost quite close actually when you go into the deeper insight. When you're in the beginning of your vipassana meditation, these three can be quite distinctive, but when you go into deeper, they are quite the same. Nevertheless, we're going to describe about them. So we have this 18. So you have contemplation, one who develops the contemplation or noting of impermanence, anicca, then abandons the perception of permanence. One who develops the contemplation of unsatisfactoriness, abandons the perception of pleasure. A contemplation of non-self, abandon the perception of self, disenchantment, delighting, and so on. We're going to go through all of them. Another talk, another time. If not, we're going to go through all the 18, then it can be quite confusing. After, by the time I go number 18, you forget about what is number 1, what is number 2. So we go a little bit slower. We got all the time, don't worry. Okay? Now, now this one, I make it a little bit more, let me make it smaller a bit. I put in this one, it make it more easier for you all to see without so many words. If you contemplate or you note on the impermanence, anicca nupassana, then what you abandon permanence, nicca sanya, the perception of permanence. Sanya here is perception, nicca is permanence. So number 2, we have unsatisfactoriness or dukkha nupassana, then you abandon the pleasure. But you note on anatta, then you abandon on atta. Then you have revulsion, then you draw on delight. Then number 5, what is fading away, what is dispassion, we abandon on greed, and so on. Then you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So quite a lot of things we can cover here. Now, in the text, especially in the commentary, in the Visuddhimagga or the Patisambhidamagga, you have this one. 18 principle insight. Normally, they will talk about the first 7 insight. So the first 7, the commentary compile it as Satta Nupassana. Satta is 7, Anupassana means, of course, it's contemplation or repeated observation. So the first 7 here, the first 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, until relinquishment. Now this one, in the text, it shows that when you have, for example, when you have developed the noting on the impermanence or contemplation on the anicca nupassana, the dukkha nupassana or anatta nupassana, then you will come to have revulsion. When the revulsion comes in, then you have fading away. When you have fading away, you have cessation, and you have relinquishment. So they have these seven contemplation. They group together. And they explain it quite a lot in the commentary. So in the 18 here, then this is the 7. Now the 18 also, generally, we can also condense them into 3. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. All right, we can condense them into 3, into anicca, dukkha, anatta. That's what we usually normally hear or normally understand. So when we have this, when we have this 18, and so forth, then it's quite interesting. Now, the next thing is this. I put it bigger. Hey, sorry. Okay. Number 1, anicca. When it says anicca, it established 6, 8, 9, and 10. After we go back to 6, 8, 9, and 10. Dukkha nupasana. Dukkha nupasana, it established on the 4 and 6. Whereas anatta, then you're going to establish the rest of them. Okay? Now, anicca. 6, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, let's go back to 6, 8, 9, and 10. 6, what is 6? Cessation. Good. 6, 8, destruction. Okay. 9, fall. Okay. 10, change. Good. Yeah. Here, they are sometimes, it's another aspect of looking into anicca. A little bit different. For example, take for example, number 10, change. Here, number 10, change and impermanence, viparinama and anicca, they are different when you come into the context of vipassana meditation. But whereas when you talk about it generally in every day, then we talk about it in general in every day, we just interchange these two words. Oh, it is the weather change. Also, therefore, it's impermanent. You know, that my life, I'm getting older. Yes, there's a lot of change. Then you see, nothing stays the same. Everything changes, impermanent. Well, on the general daily basis, when we look at that impermanent change, we use the word interchangeably. But whereas when it comes into vipassana, there is a big difference. I want to say big difference if you meditate. If you won't able to see the difference if you don't meditate. Just give you, for example, an example. When you, let me see. Okay. When you note your pain, after I come back to sharing, when you note your pain, when the pain is going through quite painful right now, you note the pain, you pay attention to the pain, you observe the pain, and that time, let's say your mind is alert, the mind is clear, the mind is good, the mind is not having any anger towards the pain. It's able to pay attention to the pain, and it can able to notice that the pain is coming, going up, getting more, getting less, and so on, So at one time, while you're noting that pain also, it's a kind of dukkha nupassana. It's a one part of the dukkha nupassana that you are looking at it. Because the mind is not delighting into it. The mind is observing it clearly, which is good, which is you're supposed to do that. Now, while you're noting that pain, although the pain is oppressing onto you, but also you see the pain is getting more, then it's getting less, and then it arises again, then it's getting more and less. Okay? So that is normally when a vipassana yogi pay attention to those nature of pain. So when you see this change in that way, that is called viparinama. It is not impermanent. It's not anicca. Now, when you see that pain, on another hand, when you see the pain as you go into the deeper aspect of meditation, deeper progress into the meditation, then you see this pain as moment to moment arise and passing away. It moment to moment arise and passing away while you are noting that the pain that is going through. Then it arises, it passes away, arises, it passes away, moment after moment. It comes, the moment it arises, it already disappears, arise, disappear, arise, disappear, arise, disappear, arise, disappear, arise, disappear. That is impermanent. That is anicca. You see the two aspects of it. That is a different in that sense. Now, sometimes yogis also can able to notice both together, the impermanence of it and the viparinama of it, the anicca of it and the viparinama of it. Because, for example, while noting that pain, it noticed that the feeling of the pain is getting less. Now, while it's getting less, it also able to notice the arising of passing away. It's following the lessening of the feeling. So it both notice together. The change, the viparinama aspect, and the anicca aspect is being noted together at that moment of time. So sometimes yogi notice this, but they don't realize that they are noting two different forms of anupassana. One is viparinama, one is arising and passing away, or in anicca. So, but nevertheless, while we are noting it, of course, it's the best that we don't go and think over it. If you go and think over it, then your whole meditation is going to stop at that moment of time. Because it goes into the thinking, is not at the observing level. So be careful. So especially for those who love to think, who love to have this Dhamma knowledge or whatever insight knowledge, and then they want to incorporate into their, while they are meditating, then that incorporation sometimes can become a problem to the development or to the progress of the yogi. So the thinking, that time, put it aside. So you will repeat many times here and there. So after the sitting or after the walking, you get up, you think about it, then it's fine. But while you are doing it, don't try to go and pinpoint everything, which insight, which knowledge and everything. That will be a big hindrance to your meditation. Okay? Now we go back to this one again. Okay, now. So they are in a way connected. Fall also is connected and so on. In fact that, although as I said, this one is established, in a way that they establish, but doesn't mean that they are subset, that they group under anicca, but is established. Because sometimes, in a deeper aspect of the insight, for example, you see the number 11 here, signless, animitta. Now the word signless here, it's talking about a yogi just before enlightenment. Number 11, number 12, number 13 is talking about somewhere before enlightenment. And signless here is equivalent, is the same as anicca actually. Later we will discuss about it. So what we see over here just now, when I gave you to this, it is established. It's not like everything falls under anicca, but it's more like it established on that thing to become stronger and clearer. And if you don't understand this one, there's a matter. Okay. Now, let us look into the insight a little bit. Okay. Now, again here, this 16th insight knowledge, when we talk about progressive in their nature this time, then here, you see, the first knowledge and the second knowledge, when you progress, the aspect of the characteristics of anatta becomes prominent to the yogi. Okay? And number 3, right, knowledge of comprehension, then the anicca, dukkha, anatta becomes clear to the yogi. Then number 4, knowledge of arising and passing away, and knowledge of dissolution, then the anicca becomes, the anicca nupassana becomes clear to the yogi. Okay, before we go to number 6, number 7 and the rest, let me explain. The anicca here at number 4 and the anicca at number 3, they are different anicca. Although they fall under the same umbrella of anicca, but the experience of anicca are different. So to the anatta here, and actually the anatta at number 2 and also the anatta number 1, 3 of them are different form of anatta, although it falls under the principle of anatta. Alright? Because of the different form of contemplation is taking place at that moment of time. Okay? Alright. Then, here, now before we go into that, although we say that, let's say, take the first one and second one. Yeah? The knowledge of discerning of mind and matter and discerning of conditions. Here, although when the maturity of that first insight, when you can able to discern the separation of the mind and matter. For example, when you do the walking meditation, you walk, you're lifting, pushing, dropping, and so on. Then that time, you notice that your mind can able to notice the movement as one thing, and you know that the mind that is looking or observing the movement of the leg is another entity. So there, you begin to see 2 different entities, and it repeats for some time. Yeah? Not one time only, and that's it. One time you wouldn't be called anupassana. So it's going to be repeated again and again for a long period of time, depending on the yogi. Then it's begin to see those things. Yeah? Or even in the sitting meditation, also the same thing. It notice the in-breath, out-breath, while noticing the in-breath, out-breath, now going long or going short or going faster or slower, or the rising and falling is going faster, going up or down or forward or backward. When you notice these things, the things are moving, and at the same time, you notice that the mind is noticing the movement. So that is anatta. But in reality, what happened during this time is that the yogi will see much more dukkha than compared to this anatta. Why? Because pain here and there, everywhere pain. So when they sit down, let's say when they sit down, at this moment of time, especially the first insight, the second insight, the yogi goes through a lot of here pain, there pain, everywhere pain. Before you want to sit down, you know the pain is going to coming already. You also become very fearful of that sitting also. But when the yogi report, usually when the yogi report, they report Bhante. Let's say they have 15 minutes or 10 minutes of reporting time. They go inside, they're reporting, Bhante, I sit down, I notice a bit of rising, falling. Then after the pain here, after they come, and then you're pulling, I cannot tahan, I move a leg a little bit. When everything, talk about pain. Just before he wants to go out, by the way, Bhante, I also noticed when I was walking, lifting, pushing, then I know that the mind is looking at the leg. It's something interesting. But while they are reporting, they talk about more about the pain rather than the separation of or the discernment of mind and matter. So the yogi themselves, to during that time, that other contemplation, other dukkha, especially at this moment of time, it can be quite overwhelming or can be very overwhelming to the yogi. But nevertheless, if the yogi keep on pushing, he may be able to see the discerning of mind and matter. But the yogi may not give a prominence to it. Okay? Because it's overwhelmed by that pain and so on. You get what I mean? So far? All right. So as I said, you see, although the thing is anatta, but in reality, when you practice, it may not be so clear. It may not be so clear. Okay? Even you can able to see that thing as mind and body. The yogi don't even know that they are looking at anatta also. They don't even know that this is anatta. Because to them, when they read anatta, they read a very big words, cause and effect. Some more, there's a lot of things. But when actual anatta happen in front of them, they don't realize that this is the nature of anatta. But nevertheless, you will still pass through, Even though you don't think of it as anatta, you will still pass through. It's still is a form, it's still anupassana. It's still anatta nupassana at this moment of time. So when it comes to the knowledge of discerning of condition again, then this nature of anatta, it becomes different. Now, you see that the mind and the body, let's say there is what do you call that? The mind and the body. Let's say you have, you notice an intention, mind. Then you notice your leg starts to move or your hand starts to move. When the mind arises, then only that something is moving. When the mind doesn't arises, then something is not, then the leg or the hand does not move it. It's not moving. So at that time, although you see the body and mind are interacting, then here you see a different type of anatta. Different type of anatta nupassana. Okay? They are just different. Although we put them under anatta nupassana, but they are different. And because of this different, later part in the 18th principle of insight, we're going to go back again and we're going to give them the right name for it. It can be quite confusing for some of you. So again, here we have anicca. Then we have a different form of anicca. And again, here we come to number 12. It's like, when you come to the 6, 7, then you have dukkha. Then again, you have different types of dukkha is going to come up. Then some of you think that the dukkha is only your buttock pain, your head pain, your neck pain, sit painful, there painful. This is on the I wouldn't say superficial. This is still on the beginner's part. Whereas when it comes into the deeper aspect of dukkha nupassana, it comes as not as your unpleasant feeling, but again here it's very much to do with the arising and passing away. Then now we come to number 11, then equanimity towards formation and anatta. Then when it comes to number 12, I wouldn't say 12, 13, it's actually a extension of 11. Then later part, it will be anicca or dukkha or anatta. Then nibbana will take place. Or nibbana is realized, not take place. Nibbana is realized. So this one, over here, anicca, dukkha or anatta, It depends on your character. What type of character you have, or what type of disposition or inclination of your mind you have. So before you realize Nibbana, then either you see as anicca, or you see as dukkha, or you see as anatta. Then that is called the triple gateway of liberation. This talk also, I talked about it last year, somewhere, some of the talks in the Facebook. Now, knowledge of reviewing, then again here, it reviews many types of anicca, many types of dukkha, many types of anatta that you already gone through from one to all the everything. So this is to give you a brief understanding of what you're going to go through in this one. So when you look at anatta, or you look at dukkha, or you look at anicca, then every moment that you pay attention, you are abandoning certain wrong or distorted perception. Okay? You kind of like slowly keep on knocking until that wrong perception starts to break. But you do not know. What are you abandoning at that time. What is happening is that what you see in front of you, automatically by default, the abandonment will take place. You don't even know it. But it will take place. Now, so give this one, we will come back again later on. Later on, we're going to go back again. Now we're going to go into anicca this time, or dukkha, or anatta, and also a little bit of anatta. Look at anicca first. Anicca first. It's just, hey, where is it? Okay. Anicca. What is anicca? What is characteristic of anicca? What is anicca nupassana? There are three different things here. Okay? When you say that anicca, normally when we say what is anicca, when you are referring to the object of five aggregates, which is mind and matter. Anicca, it's five aggregates. Dukkha is five aggregates. Anatta is five aggregates. Okay? When we use the word anicca, what is anicca? So anicca is the five aggregates of mind, or simplified it as mind and matter. They are anicca. Then what is characteristic of anicca? Characteristic of anicca is the momentariness of the arising and passing away of that formation or of that object, or any object of the five aggregates. So these are the characteristic of anicca. You see, when you pay attention to the arising and passing away, that means you are paying attention to the characteristic of anicca and so on. Now, anicca nupassana is the observation or noting repeatedly on the characteristics of arising and passing away. Okay? It's all connected. Go back to your five aggregates and back to your mind and matter all over again. So this one is actually important for us to understand the three distinct parts of when we talk about an object, or whether we talk about characteristic, or whether we talk about anicca nupassana. Then you have dukkha. Dukkha again here, what is the object? Formation or sankhara, or object here of dukkha is also five aggregates, mind and matter. Characteristics of dukkha. Oppression due to the momentariness of arising and passing away. Because of this arising and passing away, you see it for a long time, then you find that there are certain kind of oppression is going to arise in you. And that oppression may not be pain, batok pain, here pain. Sometimes it's kind of like looking into some parts of your states of mind, and it becomes quite taxing to the yogi and difficult to the yogi, actually. Oppression. So it's going to have many ways, many characteristics when it comes to oppression. So as you can see, this word oppression here, they are waiting for you, What is fear, what is danger or misery, this enchantment, this reflection, all these things are waiting for you. All the different types of dukkha is waiting for you before you pass through into Nibbana. I always like to, sometimes I look at this 16 insight knowledge. It's like, last time, this Kung Fu movie, especially like the Shaolin Kung Fu. So they want to pass a certain test. They must go through all with then we got to fight with different types of fighter, this fighter, that fighter. After a while, then only they become fully matured fighter. Yeah. While inside there, they're going to get beat up and so on. So something like that. So you're going to go through a lot of it. You're going to go through a lot of it. So again here, dukkha nupassana. The characteristic of dukkha is one thing, dukkha nupassana is one thing. Dukkha nupassana again here is observing or noting repeatedly on the characteristic of dukkha. Again. Now anatta here, again, they are all similar. Again here, it's a 5 aggregates. What is anatta? Anatta here is, characteristic of anatta is the non-ownership. Or sometimes in another part, they call it you see the conditional nature which is connected to the arising and passing away of formation. Anatta nupassana again is observation on those characteristics again and again and again and again and again. So everything here hinge upon this arising and passing away of objects. Everything. What is anicca, dukkha, anatta? It's all just arising and passing away. It's a matter of just looking at it slightly differently. Then different perception arises. Now, before we look into anicca a little bit more, before we look into this a little bit more, we'll come back on it. We'll come back on it. Now, this one, this 18 principle insight here, make sure that this is not your pick and choose as you like, Not today, let me say I want to go meditate. Today I want to do Nirodha Nupassana. I want to see all the Nirodha Nupassana. Now you cannot do that. You cannot do all those things, Tonight sitting, I would just want to see the anatta aspect only. I don't want to see the anicca, dukkha. No, you cannot. This is not your cherry picking. You pick as you like. You cannot pick as you like. In Vipassana, you sit down, you build up your mindfulness and everything, then you open up your mind to let it show you whatever it wants to show you. Not what you want to do this or do that and so forth. Although what I say right now, you may laugh, some of you. But this is exactly sometimes we see what the yogis actually doing. Take for example, they see that rising, falling, very nice. Rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling. Wow. Quite good. And then that time, they notice that the mind is not thinking. The mind is not, the mind is able to pay attention to it. Then they see a lot of change. Number 10. They are looking at number change, viparinama. Good, wonderful. But then the next sitting it come in. Oh, a lot of thinking. I want to go back to that sitting. Just now that sitting, the earlier one, is so good. I can see all these things. How come it don't come in anymore? I want to see that. So, you're already choosing So when you choose, then it's not the right way of doing things already. Yeah? So when this sitting, the mind is a bit more restless. This time you got to pay attention to the restless mind. You can forget about the rising and falling at this time, but you have to think not what you want earlier on. So many, in fact, every now and then I hear of yogis who they see this arising, passing away, very nice. Then every sitting, they incline the mind just to see on that thing. They don't want to incline the mind to open up to see other phenomena that is happening. They just want to see that arising, passing away, arising, passing away, arising, passing away. Yeah. So you cannot do that. You have to keep the mind open, whatever that you want to show you. Another thing. Again here, you got to be careful. Contemplation here, the noting here, belongs to the vipassana when you are actually meditating, Not at the time when you are like, sit down right now, thinking about it again and again. Oh, Bhante, I'm thinking of all the change in my life and so on, I'm thinking of it for some time. I'm doing the contemplation of change right now. I don't see any lastingness in all my life and everything. Wait, that one is not the type of this one. It belongs to, all these things belong to vipassana. It doesn't belong to samatha also. Okay, it does not belong into your daily life just thinking. This is very much into vipassana when you're observing, when you're noting at that moment of time. Not to say that your contemplation, not to say that your thinking and your reflecting and so forth are not good. They are good, but you must know when is the time for you to do it, when the time you should not do it. When the time you should not do it is especially when you are doing vipassana, you got to forget about your perception and so on. Your thinking and so on. No. Again here, this contemplation, it's connected to the object of 5 aggregates, mind and matter. All right? It cannot come in as a concept, especially when we are meditating. The concept or the thinking mind or the imagination mind can come in quite easy if you're not mindful. If your mindfulness is weak or your continuous noting is weak, then those concepts can come in and it takes over your noting and you think that you are doing the right thing now. And it's already like your imagination is taking over the actual observation already. Yeah? Just give you a simple example. Now, let's give you a simple example. Let me see. What example I have? Let me see. Okay. At one time, this yogi reporting in the meditation. He's reporting in the meditation. And then he was saying, oh, and I know the rising falling. Rising falling was moving. The rising falling, when it was moving, it looks like a snake like that. Okay, good. Sometimes when we describe certain thing, we want to describe something with our daily life, and then we want to bring that understanding what we see into words, and then we want to share it with the teacher or with another person So he noticed that this rising, falling, and moving, it's good, I mean, this is quite a good noting, It's moving like that. It's described like a snake. But then when after his description, he began to say, after that, the snake become bigger and bigger. Then the snake begin to look at me, Then the snake, the two eyes of the snake have more and more lights. And then the mouth starts to open. Oh, Bhante. Holy already, I think my meditation. And I could see that the snake is moving everywhere. Oh, everywhere. Now you see what you see the nature of what you see in the rising and falling. That nature is superimposed onto your concept, and that concept kind of like mimics what you are noting, and then that concept, that imagination becomes more prominent, and you forget about your actual observation, and you pay more attention, or you give more precedence to that snake or that imagination, and then you interpret that you are seeing change, or you're seeing anatta, or you're seeing dukkha. You see what I mean now, right now? And it can change so easily without you realizing it in that moment of time. And sometimes it can carry on for the whole hour. Not only that particular sitting, the next walking, and so on. Huh? And you think that you are doing anupassana, and you think that you are doing satipatthana, and so on. But you are totally out already. You're totally out. Huh? And sometimes a terrible thing is that sometimes when they mention this type of things, then they report to so-called teacher. Then the teacher say, "Wow, holy, you are excellent yogi already." You see, everybody come. You listen to her or his report. You see, from the inside now, it can become magical power, magical snake. That means the person maybe have a divine eye already. Maybe he can able to see the naga already. Oh. Then you yogi also, you shocked already lah. Oh, Jose already lah. Now I got all this power and so on already. You know how many times I met with this type of yogis, and they thought that they are doing the right thing. So you see, so as I said, these things you can. As I said, first of all, you don't choose. You sit down, you pay attention to the satipatthana objects, whether it's your kayanupassana, vedana, or your feelings, or your chittanupassana, or your dhammanupassana. You within this fall within these objects, then you're right. If you're out of these four objects, you go into a lot of thinking and so on, then that one can be problematic. Especially you delight into it, you grasp hold on it, then it can be problematic. Now, okay, let's go back to this one. Okay. All right. Let's look into anicca and lakkhana a little bit more. Hey. Sorry, hold on. Okay. Anatta lakkhana. The characteristics of anatta. Just now I gave you the characteristics of anatta is this arising and passing away. I mean, we give it in a more subtle manner because we want to see that how the anicca, dukkha, anatta, they are all interconnected. But whereas sometimes in the different commentary, they give characteristics of anatta as number one and two of the first one. Then in another commentary, they give 1, 2, 3, 4. But nevertheless, they are the same. Okay. Now here they give the nature of the understanding of what is arising, what is passing away, and what is change. Arising, passing away, and change. Sometimes if you look into the Satipatthana Sutta or Mahasatipatthana Sutta, in the inside they give, the Buddha says arising or passing away, or both arising and passing away. All right? So arising, passing away, both arising and passing away. Here we have change. Okay? Now the earlier part, as I said, the arising and passing away, they are very momentary. They are moment to moment change. Moment arising and passing. The moment that's there, the moment is already gone. Okay. Now the change part here is that when you see something, when you see an object, then it begins to notice that it's changed. That means, for example, you notice you're rising, falling now. It starts to move faster. It moves slower. It moves up. It moves down. It moves a different direction. This is all falls under change. But they are not very strong anicca yet. But they still falls under change, as an umbrella of anicca. Now, number 2, non-existence after having arisen. Here, non-existence after having arisen. Here is where the knowledge of dissolution becomes the climax of anicca lakkhana. The climax of anicca lakkhana. Not at the udayabaya, not at the number 4. The knowledge number 4 is knowledge number 5. So let us go back. Let us go back a little bit on this if you are not so familiar with this one. Now you see, the word is knowledge of arising and udayabaya jnana, then the bhanga jnana, dissolution knowledge. Here both is anicca. But the stronger anicca is at the dissolution, not just arising and passing away. Why is that so? Because the knowledge of dissolution, when you see things keep on breaking up, keep on passing away. And at this time, this knowledge here, you don't see how it originates. Whereas in the knowledge of arising and passing away, you see a stream of arising and passing away. But at knowledge of dissolution, you only see everything keep on passing away or breaking up, or it loses its momentum. Because of that, the impact upon the idea of permanence become very strong to the yogi. Because if you see arising and you don't see disappearance, then the impact is not strong yet. But when the focus is everything about destruction, everything goes into dissolution, everything goes into disappearance, then the idea of permanency becomes, it breaks, at least for that moment of time, that the idea of permanency, it's abandoned at that moment of time. Take for example, take a simple example. If a deva, let's say you die here, you're born as a deva. When you're born as a deva, when you look back into your past lives and so on, and then you think, oh yeah, you see, from one life I have to go another life. Now you come as a deva already. Now your deva life is going to be so long. Because of it's so long, I think that life is permanent. I mean, deva life is permanent. In fact, that the Mahabrahma thinks that everything is permanent. He doesn't see his death yet. So he doesn't see the destruction of things yet. So only when it comes into seeing that there's a destruction of phenomena, or destruction of the 5 aggregates, or this destruction of whatever that you're noting, and its disappearance, then the impact on on the perception on anicca becomes so strong that it begins to abandon a lot on the idea of permanence or the perception of permanence. So the knowledge of dissolution, it comes to a very climax of anicca, actually. As this knowledge also, sometimes there are some yogis are able to see that the mind and the body, while they arise and passes away at the same time, and also everything change at the same time, and both of them also completely disappear at the same time, and they arises again at the same time, disappear, they stays there, and then they disappear also at the same time. Sometimes some yogis only notice the mind disappearing only. Sometimes some yogis notice the body disappearing only. Sometimes some yogis notice poof are disappearing. Okay. Now another way is called this arising, passing away, change, momentariness. Momentariness, as I said, here the momentariness here, it's in the present moment. Okay. In the present moment, it cannot be in the past, it cannot be in the future. You cannot think about impermanent, you cannot think about that. You cannot observe the arising and passing away in the past. You cannot arise, because those will be concept. Again, you cannot do it in the future, also cannot. It has to be now, right here at this instant. Okay? So that's why during meditation, we ask the yogi, hey, don't go into the story, don't go into the story, don't go and think about all your past experience, don't go into the story about the future. Stay in the present, pay attention in the present. Because you keep that habit to stay in the present, then that momentum, the momentum, your mindfulness, your concentration will start to become more continuous. When the momentum of that become continuous, then you are actually observing what is happening right here and now, how those things change. Then therefore, when you're able to notice those things change, how you're seeing the true nature of things as they are at the moment. So at the same time also, whatever that you are noticing, it also begins to abandon the wrong perception. It begins the wrong way on the wrong perception. So it also, and number 4 is called the denying of impermanence. Denying of permanence is the same, again here is the same as number 2, because this time you keep on seeing everything breaking up, and breaking up. Now, I don't want to go to dukkha yet. I don't want to go to dukkha yet. This, other words, here whether characteristics of anicca, dukkha or anatta, your job is to make sure you pay attention to them closely. They will come to you sooner or later as you pass through the development or the progress of this insight of vipassana. These things will naturally come to you. All you need to do is make sure you make the effort, you have a long period of time so that time you can able to progress further. If you don't have enough time, just for example, if you're talking about just 1 or 2 days of meditation, then even the anicca lakkhana also you may not able to see. You know what you're going to see in the 1 or 2 days? You're going to have a lot of daydreaming, a lot of sleepiness and so on. Yeah. So you need more days, you need time, and you need a lot of effort to progress. Yeah? Now we go back a little bit here. Just before we go, 5 more minutes before we go. You see the abandonment part? Permanence, pleasure, self, delighting, greed, origination, grasp, compactness, accumulation. This, everything you have. Okay? All these things you have. Now, some people have more than others. Or some of the wrong perception, you have more than others. For example, some people likes to have a lot of pleasure. Everything they like, everything beautiful. Everything not beautiful, they don't want to see, they don't want to hear, they don't want to touch, and so on. Yeah. Therefore, when you want to strive for enlightenment, then there's going to be a big problem. Why? Because whatever that you don't like, whatever that is going to be stronger for you, it's going to take more time for you to see and observe onto that anupasana. That means if you love delight here and there, then when the pain comes in, or when the other forms of dukkha comes in, you're going to get angry. That means you're not able to see them as they are. You're going to avoid it. And because you cannot tahan, you cannot stand that all this pain and so on. So what happened? You still want to realize Nibbana. So what's going to happen to you? So on that certain area, you're going to repeat it again and 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 again until you can able to knock it, break it a little bit more, then only you go forward. In other words, say for example, you come to this 6 knowledge, 7 or 8 knowledge, which is a lot of different types of dukkha coming in. Not only talking about first and second, which is also a lot. Number 3 also is a lot. Whereas when you come to the 6, 7, 8, which is a deeper aspect of the dukkha, then if you're a person who fawns of delighting in everything in the world, delight in all these beautiful things, beautiful dress, beautiful house, beautiful things, and because of that delight that you have, so when you go through the insight, you're going to stay there for a longer period of time compared to others. Bhante, how come my meditation cannot go on one, cannot progress on, Bhante? Why every day I got to see all those pain here, pain there, and I see other yogis less pain, and so why? Whose fault now? My fault, man. The Vipassana fault, man. Mahasi Sayadaw's fault, man. Pa Sayadaw's fault, man. Whose fault? It's our own fault. Because you delight in everything. Yeah. Some of us we do not know that what we are delighting in. Even like, for example, like anatta is even more deeper. Obviously, that yes, everything changed, everything this one, but the I is very strong. The I, touch the I very strong. Who is listening to the talk here? I listening. The I am is very strong. Therefore, your anatta is going to have a hard time. You're going to repeat it for a long period of time before you knock that anatta. You're going to knock that anatta before you this one. So if you are all your greed, hatred, delusion, all very powerful, then your this 16 is going to be a long period of time. If your greed, hatred, delusion light one, just like Sariputta or Moggallana, the moment they hear the Buddha's, but they hear all these things, all their anupasana all arises, or therefore they are already enlightened. So because of our greed, hatred, delusion is so strong, our wrong perception is so strong. So therefore, when we progress in this one, we're going to be slow. And why we slow? Because you need to see more. You need to repeat on the anupasana or the Anicca Nupassana, Dukkha Nupassana, Anatta Nupassana for a longer period of time. Okay? Yeah. Hopefully this talk is to help you to have confidence and purpose and samvega to practice, not thinking of our faults and here and there. So my job is to make sure to push you further into further development. So we'll stop here for today, for tonight, and we're going to continue on the next Monday. Next Monday. Coming week, next week Monday. All right? So, okay, we'll stop here. Sadhu.